This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/audio.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, hey, we're back. Are we back? We are back. Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. This show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. Go to emailrevealer.com, catch your spouse cheating online. I can trace their email address back to online dating websites and catch them cheating, all kind of fun stuff. Okay, let's check out oppermanreport.com, where we have a special members section. You can find all kind of additional content on there. You can find exclusive shows and interviews that we have going on there for you, oppermanreport.com. Also, there's a bookstore on there where you can buy Aphrodite Jones' book, Michael Jackson Conspiracy. Things got a little heated there with the Aphrodite Jones. But otherwise, I had a great day. I really enjoyed the interview with Peter Dale Scott. We had a chance to talk after the... there was a little screw-up, mix-up on the time before, so we taped this morning. And then we had a chance to have a really, really nice discussion after the show, after we stopped taping. And he's very, very kind to me. And I think we'll be doing some stuff. I don't think he'll do another radio show with us. But I believe in the future, maybe we can get down there to his home and tape with him and record with him. I'm hoping we can do something like that. A couple of things. Back to the Aphrodite Jones case. I've been fighting with a lot of people lately, I know. God, I'm just trying to get along with everybody. Trust me. A couple of things about the Aphrodite Jones and the Michael Jackson case. First of all, I want to disclose that around that period of time, I had done some work in the Lacey Peterson case. I had done some investigative work, tracing emails and internet-type investigations for the family of the victims, and some witnesses and stuff. And then later on, Mark Garagos was the defense attorney in that case, and I guess he got wind of the work that I did. He was very impressed by it, and he sent me a lot of work over the years around that period of time. Nothing lately, but. Does that mean a lot of work? I got to disclose that. I have no problem with Mark Garagos or his private investigator who was working for him around that time. I even have some work I did for the Jackson family that I've done. So I think I'm open-minded about this. I really do, and I think I've looked at this carefully. One thing about dangling a baby outside of a window, I got an email from one of the listeners. This guy, Zos, or Das, I forget his name. It was a really cool guy. And he actually stayed in that hotel room where Michael Jackson stayed in that room. He's familiar with the room. And he was telling me in an email today that it's impossible for Michael Jackson to have heard the fans screaming outside the window. So, he was looking for attention from these fans. It was the other way around. One more thing that is I'm a real stickler about, just to give you an idea, okay, like the idea of hanging a baby outside a window, no matter how hard you're holding on to that baby, okay? Every day in America, in the United States of America, there are 50 trips to the emergency room because of accidents from children falling from supermarket shopping carts. They stand up in the carts and they fall out of the cart on their head, okay, and they got to go to the emergency room. There's 50 a day in this country, okay? And every time I see a kid in a supermarket and the parents are just letting them stand up in that cart or do whatever, it's insane. And it drives me nuts. And I'll even say something because I can't stop myself. I got to say, whoa, no, don't let them stand up. Little kids stand up on a shopping cart and push the shopping cart. They're going to fall over. Okay? So the idea that you're going to hold a baby outside a window, that's insane. Give me a break. You need a smack for doing that. Okay, so I'm not going to fight with anybody tonight. Let's see. Let's look at the old notes. Okay, let's see. Okay, go to the notes. A lot of stuff going on this week. Very, very busy week. Let's just end the thing with Agenda 21. Let's put Agenda 21 to bed, please. Okay, because I'm getting a lot of nasty comments about Agenda 21, and people want to send me articles about it, and they want to send me YouTube videos about it, links to books about it. Okay, here's where we are now with Agenda 21. I've read it, okay? Don't tell me you've read it, okay? And then when I tell you, okay, what page is it on that you have a problem with, and you can't tell me what page, and then you send me to a YouTube video or a book or something, okay? That's all that's happening. Don't BS me. Don't tell me you read it when I know you haven't read it. Okay, we started off Agenda 21, and all the contrails are in there, and depopulation, and all that stuff in there, private property, all that stuff's in there, right? I read it, none of that's in there, and now people say, yeah, Ed, we admit it's not in there, but there's this other stuff. Communitarianism is in there. Okay, all you guys are reading about is opinions about the document, and then this doesn't mean now that I'm in favor of New World Order, blah, blah, blah. Here's where we are right now, okay? I've read it. If you're going to tell me you read it, tell me what page you got a problem with. Give me a page citation. I'm going to write up a whole paper on this thing, by the way. And I'm going to go on a little tour. People want to interview me all the time. I turn them down. I can pick up the phone one day. I'll get on 10 shows. Okay? Agenda 21, the whole thing drummed up about Agenda 21 is complete and utter BS. Where we are right now is you got to show me. You got to prove it to me. If there's something in there you don't like, give me the page citation. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. By the way, tonight, I don't know, I was requested to tell about my experience with the Howard Stern show. I might talk about that. I might talk about something else. I don't know. We're going to see how things go. If I end up in a good mood tonight, I'll tell the Howard Stern fun stuff. If I want to turn into an angry maniac tonight, I'll tell you the other stuff. But let me tell you about something. I talk a lot about how when I was a kid, I was getting started in the PI business. I got hooked up with this private investigator in Brooklyn. And before I moved into his office, and he was letting me use his office space to run my little business out of there, he was a friend of mine. He's an old man, a little older guy, but he's a friend of mine. I liked his wife. I liked his mother-in-law. I knew his family. People would come to visit. It was a fun place to hang out. So for whatever one reason is, okay, one night I went by there. I remember it was the evening time. And I remember pulling up, and there was like a bunch of Lincolns and Cadillacs out in front. And I go in, and I could tell things were tense. Something was going on. And they had told me about a case they had worked on about this guy who was facing multiple murder charges. And he hired the former prosecutor, federal prosecutor, Puccio. His name was Thomas Puccio. You can look it up. And Puccio got him a deal. He was going to do 15 years in prison for murdering these three guys. And he thought that was a great deal. In fact, he paid like $15 million to get that. But my friends, and there was another guy there, a very famous guy who was very famous in doing bug sweeps, wiretap sweeps. They call it TCIM, some nonsense they call it now. But back then you called it counter surveillance or bug sweeps or that kind of stuff. And that's, my friend did that for a living. And there was a guy there who was a legendary guy. He's a legendary guy today. And they were all sitting there, and there's this big mafia guy sitting there, and a couple of his thugs and goons standing around. And these weren't like young thugs and goons. These were like serious guys. The air was thick with what was going on in that room. I'm a young kid, and I said, okay, my friends are in trouble. I'm going to stay, let's fight, let's go down together. All right. But they told me, no, you gotta go, you gotta get out of here. Because it's definitely a smart thing to do when you're 50 years old, to de-escalate, not to escalate. I'll never forget. I'm sitting there in that room, and here's this guy. He's going to go to prison for 15 years anyway, for 3 murders. And he's calling these people on the carpet, and he's telling them, show me how it is they wiretapped me when you went in and you swept for bugs, and then show me the kind of bug it is. What kind of wiretap did they have that you couldn't find? How did they do it? Show me. You got to show me. Because there comes a point where you're being BS'd, okay? And you got to draw the line. I said, no. I'll pay you to show me. Show me. Okay? And let me tell you something. That had a big effect on my life. Okay? And I learned back then, you don't BS your way through stuff. That's where we are with Agenda 21 tonight. If you got some information, okay, rather than accuse me of that and claim you read this and claim you read that and show me some stupid book and some stupid video, show me what page it's on. That's where we are. The discussion ends right there. And it's not just Agenda 21, all right? Because I have the same problem when I was talking about it. I don't believe everything's a false flag. Well, then you must be in favor of taking away our guns. Because I don't think it's a plan to take away guns right away. Well, okay, now I'm repeating myself because week after week, these are some things that piss me off. But I got to tell you, a couple other things came up this week. Now, they had this thing here this week in Las Vegas, the Hyperloop, okay? I got a press release about a week back saying, hey, you can come up to North Las Vegas here to this industrial park, and they're going to demonstrate the Hyperloop. And the plan is you're going to get in this tube, and it's going to take you, go from Los Angeles, California to San Francisco in 30 minutes. It takes like 11 hours to take a train or a bus. I mean, you're going to get up there in 30 minutes because this thing goes 700 miles an hour. This tube, right? And I couldn't get over there because I had a very important interview with Aphrodite Jealous. I couldn't get over there, but it turns out that my friend is the one who's local here. She does the PR, and she does a little PR gigs. She did it for, who's that guy? Jeb Bush when he came to town. She did it for the Dr. Ben Carson when he came to town. And I'm always bugging her. I say, hey, can you get me an interview with Ben Carson? Give me an interview with Bush. And she ignores me. But for this, I contacted her, and I can get down there with this Hyperloop thing, right? That even though this demonstration's over where they invited all the press and they invited me to come down, that I can get a special tour of this thing and to meet some of the people involved and go down there and film it, and we'll use it for the future, okay? But it got me to thinking. Because you hear these guys like John Lear, and they're saying 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that we have the underground, these hyper tunnels, these tubes, go back and forth across the country, blah, 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 right? And the tubes, which is the kind of thing they're talking about building here. The same thing, right? Now, the guys behind this Hyperloop thing, these are not novices. These are not nobodies. One of these guys is Elon Musk, who's the founder of PayPal. He's the boss of SpaceX and Tesla Motors. Okay? These are not guys, this guy, the guy from PayPal here in town, when Clinton comes to town, he goes to his house and visits him in his house. By the way, I lived by that house, too. By the way, it was in Seven Hills, in my old, where I used to live, my house. And we were actually going to buy another house, this beautiful piece of property that was right behind his property. He got a huge piece. This was just like a little 3-bedroom house. It was like on a ledge, a cliff, and there's like a gorge in between us. Beautiful area, beautiful property. And my backyard would have looked to his backyard, over this, what do you call it, like a valley, I guess you call it. Because there are all these mountains and hills and valleys out here, So, my point is, about the Hyperloop is you got these guys claiming that we already have these tubes. Well, why wouldn't these guys here and now who just did this demonstration for the Hyperloop, why wouldn't they be able to contact people like Bill Clinton and say, hey, hand us over the technology for the Hyperloop so we can do it, we can copy it? You know? So, I'm having second thoughts on a lot of stuff we hear, a lot of this old stuff, you know? And I'm taking a second look at it. Started with Hyperloop. Because they could never get this thing to, they did a little test. They could never get it to go to 700 miles an hour. I think they got it from 0 to 60, whatever. It was decent, or maybe 300 miles they got it to. But they said, no, we're working on it, we're going to get it to do that. So it seems to me if they've been doing this 40, 50 years ago in the military, that somehow these plans and designs, especially these kind of guys we're talking about here, these aren't slouches, could get their hands on these designs. But for some reason, they don't. So we got to take a look at that. Now, another thing that we hear, and one thing I like to do too, because I'm going to be allowed to go up there and film with them, when we get the camera. By the way, we need a GoFundMe account. The GoFundMe /Opperman report is to get cameras to do this kind of documentary film work and these kind of reports for you. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going down to the Democratic National Convention, the Democratic Nevada Convention, and I'm going to have the new audio recorder that I have. I can't do any video, but I'm going to have the audio recorder I can and do some interviews down there. And then I'm going to come back. I'll be here by 5 o'clock to do the show live. And it's going to be with David Scherter. Okay, let's look this up real quick. I'm going to have David Scherter on the show. He's the author of Down the Rabbit Hole, a Satanic Ritual Abuse Story. So we're going to be talking about that. Also other things that me and David get involved in. Also, David has invited me to Seattle, Washington in October. I'm going to be on a panel with him and Fiona Barrett. Okay? Fiona Barrett, you might remember, she's the one who alleges that she was molested by Nicole Kidman's father. This is in October, Seattle, Washington. There's another conference that's in the same hotel at the same time. I believe I'm going to be speaking at that, so I'm going to be presenting at both of these events. Not sure what I'm going to be doing, to tell you the truth. David says he wants me to come down and help out. I'm going to come down and help him out. So he's going to get me over there. And we'll be selling my books and stuff like that. Hopefully we'll have some of these videos done by then, because in June, we're hoping to go, me and Victoria are going to go to California to attend some Bernie events and hopefully film with Hank Harrison. Okay? So we're really starting to get the ball rolling on all these films and stuff. So let's see if I can find these dates and stuff like that for Seattle. But anyway, listen, I'll be telling you about it tomorrow, right? So let's not worry about that too much. We'll be talking about that plenty tomorrow with good old David Scherter. But the thing is, we hear about this stuff, about the Hyperloop, right? And then we kind of find out, hey, we really can't do the Hyperloop. It's still in testing, And one of the other things we hear about that we take as, the alternative media takes as gospel, is this crap about being able to drill these underground tunnels, right? And I forget who the guy is who's claimed about the underground tunnels. The guy, they caught him lying about how he got injured. He was down there and got out into a firefight with aliens down here in the underground tunnels and stuff, right? And as you see this black and white picture of this tunnel boring machine, right? And everyone claims, well, this thing could bore 10 miles a day, right? This underground. And then they say, and the way they did it within the sides of the walls of the tunnel would turn to glass because it would melt as it went through, Here it is, black and white photo of it. Boring this tunnel. Well, I got to tell you something, okay? I live, people may not know, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we have a problem. We have a water shortage here. We have a drought. And we get our water from Lake Mead. The water comes down from Colorado River, goes in, then dammed it up, the Hoover Dam. Everybody heard about this, right? And we got our water from Lake Mead. But the water level in Lake Mead is getting so low that the straw, as they call it, the straws that pull the water from Lake Mead are soon going to be above the level where they need to be in order to get good water. So what they're doing is they're digging a tunnel under Lake Mead. They lowered this thing back in 2012. They lowered this thing down at the lake. And now they're digging a tunnel to come up under it. So then they're going to have the water coming from the bottom of Lake Mead. Do you know how long? And you know how far that tunnel is? It's 3 miles. 3 miles long. They started 2012. And they still can't get there to this day. It's not there yet. They're not there yet, guys. 3 miles. People are told, oh, we got tunnels that go from Massachusetts to Tucson, Arizona, and come up underneath this thing over here. It comes up underneath the Eiffel Tower, you know. All across the world, these tunnels are going. But here in Las Vegas, they can't dig a tunnel for 3 miles because when we need water, okay, we say, well, they got the stuff, but they're not letting you guys in Vegas use it. It's secret military equipment that they don't let you use in Las Vegas. Well, who lives in Las Vegas? Sheldon Adelson? Right? You know who Sheldon Adelson is? Owns the Venetian. He picks presidential candidates. Decides who's going to be president. Okay? Sig Rogich. These are the guy who founded PayPal lives here in Las Vegas. Lives near me. You know? Robin Leach. You know, big, powerful, rich people live here. Steve Wynn. But even more big, powerful, rich people visit here. And they want this to continue. They want this to be here. They want us to have water. They want us to have water in less than 3 years. They want us to have water in 6 months or 3 months. If this equipment existed, these are the guys who they could get their hands on it, without a doubt. But it's not there. So what are we to conclude? Maybe a lot of the things we've heard in alternative media have been made up. Okay? People just kind of making things up. Maybe they make things up, okay, because they're crazy. Okay? Maybe they're just liars. Okay? Or maybe they think you're stupid and they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to con you out of some money. I don't know what the reasons is. I don't know. We cannot be convinced, right? But all I can say is the more and more I look into these things for myself, I'm finding more and more holes in these stories, especially when you meet some of these people in person and you find out they're completely nuts. Okay? And having, very public meltdowns. Very publicly and clearly off their medication and going through a manic depressive phase, okay, where they're on a manic tear for several days in a row and then a depressive tear several days in a row. Some of this is just too obvious just to ignore and just to overlook. Okay, so let's see, getting some stuff off my chest here. Let's see. Don't forget those shopping carts, very dangerous. Okay. Getting worried. Oh, you know what? I might be able to do both Howard Stern and the ice cream truck story. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go through that ice cream truck story. Let's see what time it is here. 7:23. Okay, coming. Oh, yeah, there was something else I want to talk about before we get to the ice cream truck, because that's a depressing story. Some breaking news today. Turns out some new flight logs came out on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs. And guess who took double the amount of trips on Jeffrey Epstein's plane than has previously been reported. It has previously been reported up until tonight. Well, not tonight, but this afternoon. You're probably hearing it for the first time tonight. Okay, it's just as good. That Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's Boeing 727 11 times between 2001 and 2003. Turns out now it's 26 trips, more than double. So whatever Bill Clinton was doing with convicted sex offender, pedophile, Trump buddy, Jeffrey Epstein, he was doing it twice as many times as been previously reported. For 5 of those trips, for whatever reason, former President Bill Jefferson Clinton, B.J. Clinton, you might want to call him, William Jefferson Clinton, ditched his Secret Service detail on 5 of those trips. And why would you want to ditch your Secret Service detail? You tell me. I'm going to be interviewing, we're going to be doing a show about Jeffrey Epstein information. I'm going to be interviewing a woman named Conchita Sarnoff, okay? And she's the director of the Washington, D.C. based nonprofit group Alliance to Rescue Victims of Trafficking. And she's the author of the upcoming book, Traffic King, about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? According to her, and she would know because she's in his business, that Epstein was a well-known pedophile way before Clinton ever got onto a plane with him. This is what she tells me. So we're going to have her coming on the show. Let's see. The plan was she was going to come on the show on a Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. live, but now she says she doesn't want to do 2 hours live, so we're going to probably tape with her. Tomorrow we got David Scherter. Next week we have former Congresswoman Dr. Cynthia McKinney will be coming on. I had to break the news to her about what's his name? Cisco Street Love, and she was very upset because she was talking about how she was saying that as soon as they started talking, they had an instant connection. They were like brothers from the past, you know? And I got to tell you, I know for a fact that interview was Cisco's the highlight. It was the highlight of his life, was to be doing an interview with Dr. Cynthia McKinney. So she'll be coming on. We're going to be talking about Haiti, the Clintons and Haiti, and what they've done in Haiti to destroy those people, those poor people down there, overthrowing their government. And then Hillary went down there and fought the raise of the minimum wage in Haiti from 31 cents an hour to 61 cents an hour. And she fought it, put it down. So we're going to be having that coming on. Oh, boy. That's going to be coming on next week. Okay. Might be a good time to take a commercial break because I'm a miserable SOB lately. Let's just call it what it is. I am just turning into a cranky. I got to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Remove. Okay, remove. Okay. We'll be right back after these messages. This is your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And if you're enjoying this show right now, there's more. You can get more. You can go to the Ed Opperman YouTube channel, and you could subscribe there. And we have archives of all of our past shows for over the past 3 years, about 200, 300 shows. You can also go to the Opperman Report Spreaker channel, and you could follow us there. Again, a ton of shows, about 300 shows on there. And whenever we do an impromptu show, an emergency-type broadcast that we do during the week occasionally, you'll get an email notifying you of breaking news and spontaneous broadcasts that we may do during the week. You can also go to OppermanReport.com and become a member. If you become a member, you help support the free archives on Spreaker and YouTube, and you help support the free shows on Friday evening and on Saturday evening. Each of these shows, Friday evening and Saturday evening, are carried for free on 7 internet stations, okay? So you help support that, but also, too, at OppermanReport.com in the members section, we have exclusive content. Shows that are recorded during the week that are only available to members. So please check out OppermanReport.com and help support the show.
The son of a Polish immigrant who grew up in a Brooklyn tenement, Bernie Sanders. He went to public schools, then college, where the work of his life began, fighting injustice and inequality, speaking truth to power. Bernie moved to Vermont, won election and praise as one of America's best mayors. In Congress, Bernie stood up for working families and for principle, opposing the Iraq War, supporting veterans. Now he's taking on Wall Street and a corrupt political system that holds up a rigged economy. Bernie's campaign is funded by over 1 million small contributions from people like you. He's fighting for living wages, equal pay, and tuition-free public colleges. Bernie Sanders.
People are sick and tired of establishment politics, and they want real change.
Bernie Sanders. Husband, father, grandfather. An honest leader. Building a movement with you to give us a future to believe in.
I'm Bernie Sanders, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.
Check out strawmanmusic.com. Sean Duff is our webmaster here at the Opperman Report, and he's a very talented musician. He's part of a band called Strawman. They're based up there in Canada. Don't hold that against them. These are like-minded folks. If you like the shows you hear on the Opperman Report, you'll like the music that they have over at strawmanmusic.com.
Enough is enough. Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior drove this country into the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. And then, after getting a huge taxpayer bailout because they were too big to fail, it turns out that 3 out of the 4 largest banks are bigger today than they were before we bailed them out. That's crazy. I'm Bernie Sanders. My plan: break up the big banks who are strangling our economy and make them pay their fair share of taxes. Then we can invest in the middle class, expand Social Security, and provide universal college education. I'll rein in Wall Street behavior so they can't crash our economy again. Will they like me? No. Will they begin to play by the rules if I'm president? You better believe it. I'm Bernie Sanders, Democratic candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.
You know, you can get a copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, if you go to my website, emailrevealer.com. Now, this is a limited edition book, okay? And you can get a signed copy of this book, and it'll be personally autographed to you or whoever you want to give the book to as a gift. Once you have my signature on that book, you can copy the signature and put it on checks and pass them all over the world. Emailrevealer.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator.
He's fought injustice and inequality his whole life. Bernie Sanders. As a college student, he was arrested for challenging segregated housing. Bernie marched with Dr. King and thousands of others for civil rights. In Congress, Bernie stood up for working families on health care and jobs. Now he's taking on Wall Street banks and a corrupt political system that keeps in place a rigged economy. Bernie Sanders, a reformer who believes in ending racial profiling and mass incarceration so the justice system works for everyone. Bernie Sanders.
There is no president who will fight harder to end institutional racism and reform our broken criminal justice system.
Bernie Sanders, an honest leader building a movement with you to give us a future to believe in.
I'm Bernie Sanders, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Okay. Got 26 minutes left. 26 minutes. I can do that. 26 minutes is like a sweet spot, you know, down that home stretch. Almost done. So, I get a call today from Victoria. Today's my, yesterday was my day off, supposedly. Today I had to do an interview, and I got to work tonight, But I had a little day off yesterday, and I got a call this morning early from Vic saying that she left her wallet here at the house, and I got to come bring it to her school there at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because she has a special ID card. There's an ID card for her AP classes. Kid's a freshman in high school, and she's taking college courses. She gets college credit from taking this class. And she passed this test, and today was a test, and, So, and how cool is that? And I was just thinking about how differently, her childhood is from my childhood. We live in a pretty nice neighborhood. We got parks here. We got a desert. You got nice weather, trees, And meanwhile, I grew up in the Bronx, in the same building with Africa Bambaataa, who's raping all these kids we hear about now, right? We lived in a poor neighborhood, man, where everybody was just on the edge. Like when you hear that song, Grandmaster Flash, Don't Push Me, I'm close to the edge, I'm trying not to lose my head. That's where we lived, man. We lived right there, and then up in the, and just to get to school in the morning and get home, you're fighting people off, people trying to steal your bus pass. You go out and ride your bike every day, and someone's trying to steal your bike every day. What a miserable. And then people living like that right now today, all over, all over the world, all over the country. But it's miserable. I had a lot of fun in my childhood, but just as miserable having to put up with that kind of crap. And here's my kid taking a college course as a freshman in high school. What a different world, right? In so many ways. I might want to throw in here real quick too. I'm very, one thing about people don't understand. I get a little short tempered on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that, and I'll delete somebody. I'll block them right away. And it's not that I get mad because I disagree with you, because the people I like, that I'll block you too. See, the thing is, if I didn't create, this didn't come by accident, okay? I didn't get a huge Facebook following and a huge YouTube and a radio presence. None of this came by accident. I worked. I built this. This is something I built from labor. This is my work, In order to get the Facebook and following and that kind of stuff, and the internet presence that I have, I wrote 600 articles on private investigator stuff years before I ever did a radio show in order to develop this following, to develop this base, this traffic that I generate every day. Okay? I have an article that I wrote about obtaining cell phone records. The average person doesn't care about this, but in my field, this is an impressive article. It has over 500,000 views on one directory, and it's been downloaded another 1,000 times on top of that and posted all over the place. There were days I would spend the whole day writing articles about, PI stuff. It's where I get to a point where I got this social media platform. It's my platform for me to use for my agenda, okay? And I know there's a lot of people out there, little shortcut artists, who want to post things on my wall and post things, on my blogs and stuff like that, and capture my audience for their agenda, okay? I'll warn you a couple times, I'll delete you a couple times, and then that's it, you're gone. Because it's mine. I built that platform, okay? And when you try and take advantage of that and use it for your agenda, you're taking your hand and you're putting it in my pocket, and you're removing it from my pocket and putting it in your pocket. And that's not going to happen. Okay? That's not going to happen. And you're talking to a kid who had to fight to keep his bicycle every single day. So the idea that I'm 53 years old now and I'm still fighting, it's nothing to me. But the point I was trying to make is the difference in my childhood and Victoria's childhood. Victoria was born here in Las Vegas, Nevada, a very nice neighborhood. And I like the same neighborhood, like I said, where Tiger Woods golf coach, had his school of golf on a Rio Seco golf course. Bill Clinton played on that golf course. Tiger Woods played on that golf course. The PayPal guy lived in that neighborhood. We got Michael Jackson, what was his name? LaToya Jackson lived in that neighborhood. Mike Tyson lived in that neighborhood. Who's this? Smokey Robinson had a house. Seven Hills. Right? That's where I lived. That's where my home that I bought. Home's still there. My ex-wife lives in it with her new boyfriend for free. Right? But that was my house. So her life growing up was a lot different than mine in a lot of ways, but not in some ways better, some ways worse. I can remember when Victoria was a little baby. You have these memories of your little kid. I got right now in front of me. I got her the mouse pad is Victoria when she's about 4 years old, and she's holding this little rose with her arms folded. We went to take a picture at one of those picture places at the what do you call it, the department store. And every kid, you got all these milestones, these first things that they've done. First time they tie their shoes. First time, they ride a bicycle, right? First word they read, and first time they laugh. Every parent looks at these things, these milestones in their kid's life. I can remember the first time we were out shopping. And it wasn't even shopping, because here in Vegas, you got these big, giant hotel resorts. We used to live by this place. We still live by it, but it's called Green Valley Ranch Resort. And the first time I ever let her go into the bathroom by herself. Because when your kids leave, you take them to the bathroom with you. You bring them to the stall, you're going to go. But the first time I ever let her go into the bathroom by herself. First time we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and I let her climb up that tunnel all by herself. And you're all scared to death that, your kid's going to go up there and not come back down, take her diaper off or something like that. So you remember all these first times as your little kid. I can remember the first time, little Victoria, where I took her to the park, and there were some kids a little bit older, and she was about 4 years old, maybe a little bit younger. And there were some kids there 8, 9 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old they were, and she was barely 4. And they were playing red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. And she couldn't understand the game, and she couldn't play it. And one of the older kids took her and just kind of sat her aside and says, "You can't play. You don't know what you're doing." Okay? And she sat there. I remember this like it was yesterday. And she just sat there and folded her arms down. And I went over to her and I picked her up, what you got to do is pick up your little kid and, give him a hug and everything's better. And she pushed me away. I could not make it better. And I'll never forget that day. This is the one time, the first time. I couldn't make it better for my little girl. I also remember the time we were at the Sprinkle Park in Black Mountain in Henderson, Nevada. And we here in Nevada, you got these sprinkle parks, public parks, but they're water parks. They're free to go to. And there was a little sprinkle park, and this is the big sprinkle park. We used to call it the big one, the purple one with the pirate stuff. And we'd go there, the ice cream truck would come, you go buy ice cream. And it was one day I said, you know what, she's big enough, 4.5 years old, right? But she's big enough to take the dollar bill and wait online and buy ice cream by herself. I mean, I'm standing there watching, of course. I'm in a little blanket 20 feet away. You know me, I'm obsessive about these guys that they would begin with. I'm watching her away, she's waiting in line. And she had already started preschool, so she was very cognizant of the kids cutting in line. No cutting. So she's not going to let anybody cut in front of her. She got her dollar bill. She knows what she wants. She's bought it before, right? And she's going to get the change. She's going to run back and bring the change back to me. The success. Right? And she did it. I watched her do it. The first time she ever bought ice cream. She bought it from this lady in his ice cream truck. You know what the lady's name was? Selmaj. No. Where is this here? Where is this? I know this lady's name. Deshra Selmich. I don't know how you pronounce it. Deshira. The last name is Selmaj. She was Albanian. Her husband's name is Zyber. She was 42 years old when Victoria bought her first ice cream from the ice cream truck. From Deshra Selmich, this Albanian woman. Her husband's name was Zyber. Now, how do I know their names? You don't know the ice cream truck guy's name, right? Nobody does. I bought ice cream when I was a kid a million times. I don't know their name. Because Zyber and Deshra, they had two ice cream trucks in Henderson, Nevada. He would drive one, she would drive the other. One day, Zyber's driving his ice cream truck. He gets pulled over by the police. They give him a speeding ticket in Henderson, Nevada. This is right by the neighborhood where my old house is, over there in Seven Hills. 5 minutes later, or later on that day, he gets a second speeding ticket. They pull him over again. Officer Gilmore pulls him over. And he's trying to explain to them, he says, no, I already have a ticket today. You can't. He has an Albanian accent, thick, can barely speak English. There was something about it in Albania. He was a political prisoner in Albania. He's telling him, I can't get another ticket. I can't. You don't understand. You can't give me another ticket. We can't afford it. I can't. But cannot do it. I'd rather be dead. In Albania, they have a saying, death is better than this, what you're doing to me. Death would be better than this. He pulls out his cell phone. He calls his wife. He calls up Deshra to come to where he is. Maybe she can explain it to this police officer. Because in the old days, when I was a young man, you could talk your way out of a ticket. Remember those days? Deshra shows up. She has her 2 kids with her. She has 3 kids. But she has with her 2 of her 3 kids. One's 11 and one's 5. My daughter was 5 at the time. She had another kid, too, who wasn't with her. And she's trying to explain to this cop, we can't afford this. We work all day long in these stupid trucks in this 110-degree heat with these kids standing on the line with their dollar bills while their dad sits on a blanket over there under the water. Please, don't give us this ticket. I'd be better off dead than have this ticket. Let me show you. She takes out a 4.5-inch kitchen knife. Of course, they got knives on these trucks. They use them to cut open the boxes of the ice cream. She gestures with the knife. I'd be better to be dead. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. See the knife? I'd be better to be dead than to get this ticket. Officer Gilmore decides, by the way, you can look up their names. You can Google ice cream truck, police shoot ice cream truck. Lady in Henderson, Nevada. And you could see what these people looked like. This woman was 5 feet tall, not even 80 pounds, and her husband was no bigger. These are tiny little people. Officer Gilmore thinks he needs backup. He calls 10 cops. 10 cops come. This is a spot I drive back and forth 100 times. It's right by my old house. It is within view. Victoria has a little boyfriend now who's with her on the debate team. This kid named Alex is a great kid. I have to drop him off, pick him up and drop him off in front of his house. His front porch, you can watch where this woman was killed. This 42-year-old woman with 3 kids. She got 2 of these kids with her. Officer Gilmore fears for his life because this tiny little lady got a 4-inch knife, kitchen knife, and she's begging him. Witnesses said at one point she was down on her knees begging this man, but he needs backup. Backup comes, and 23-year-old Luke Morrison, who's an Iraq War veteran, is backing up his buddy Gilmore. 23 years old. Got to show the other boys, right? You're down for it, right? These 10 cops were in fear for their life from these the Selmadges. And they decide they got a taser Deshra, and they're going to hit her with a taser. But only one of the prongs goes in. I guess he was shaking. His hand was shaking probably when he shot Deshra. Because she was such a threat to these 10 cops. Luke Morrison, 23 years old, an Iraq war veteran, shot her. Pulled out his .40 caliber Glock and he shot her. Killed her. We still see Zyber. He still drives his ice cream truck. They only have one truck now. And he still drives it around. We see him all the time. He's in front of my kid's school. He's still the same parks, the same neighborhoods. We still see this guy. I saw this happen that night, by the way. I was driving back from dropping Victoria off at her mother's house. And I was driving to I was staying with roommates at the time. I'm driving back, and I see some police cars. I see the ice cream truck, and I see there's a whole line of cars lined up with police tape around them. There's about 20 witnesses who saw this. Half of these witnesses said, the cops could have disarmed this chick. The cops could have disarmed her. She was down on her knees at one point. But, of course, like every other police shooting here in Henderson, Nevada, was ruled a justifiable homicide by the police. The city of Henderson did award Mr. Zyber Selmadge, with $700,000, and he talks about how he went out and bought some parakeets for his kids, or parrots, whatever they were, And you could see pictures of these two. They're little people. He looks like he's 70 years old. The guy was 40 years old. He's my age now, 50 years old. The guy looks 20 years older than me, easy. I could knock down both of them with a feather. And I'm a mess these days. I'm out of shape. You have no idea. So, that's our memory of, by the way, to Alex, too. He remembers that as well, man. He remembers that day that they shot the ice cream truck lady. Because he saw all because it went on all day long. The police were there all day long. And so, my childhood in the Bronx, right, is a lot different than Victoria's childhood here in Henderson, Nevada, because they never shot my ice cream truck guy. And you want to know why? I told the story on the air right here a couple of weeks back. I pulled a gun on some cops in my apartment, and I didn't get shot. It was like 1985, 87 in New York. I've been in plenty of fights with cops from the time I was 15 years old, to about 30 years old. I had to go and drop off this kid's wallet. My daughter's in an AP class, a college class. And when I was afraid, my parents had to pick me up to the police station. They didn't arrest me, But back then, all my altercations, all my interactions with the police, never got shot, never got killed. But today, if you're a little old lady in front of your kids, they'll shoot you dead, and not a single cop will be held accountable for it. And that's how we live today, guys. That's the difference between my childhood and my kid's childhood. And that's the memory of our first standing online to get ice cream from the ice cream man. This is your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And if you're enjoying this show right now, there's more. You can get more. You can go to the Ed Opperman YouTube channel, and you could subscribe there. And we have archives of all of our past shows for over the past 3 years, about 200, 300 shows. You can also go to the Opperman Report Spreaker channel, and you could follow us there. Again, a ton of shows, about 300 shows on there. And whenever we do an impromptu show, an emergency type broadcast that we do during the week occasionally, you'll get an email notifying you of breaking news and spontaneous broadcasts that we may do during the week. You can also go to OppermanReport.com and become a member. If you become a member, you help support the free archives on Spreaker and YouTube, and you help support the free shows on Friday evening and on Saturday evening. Each of these shows, Friday evening and Saturday evening, are carried for free on 7 internet stations, okay? So you help support that, but also, too, at OppermanReport.com in the members section, we have exclusive content. Shows that are recorded during the week that are only available to members. So please check out OppermanReport.com and help support the show.
The son of a Polish immigrant who grew up in a Brooklyn tenement, Bernie Sanders. He went to public schools, then college, where the work of his life began, fighting injustice and inequality, speaking truth to power. Bernie moved to Vermont, won election and praise as one of America's best mayors. In Congress, Bernie stood up for working families and for principle, opposing the Iraq War, supporting veterans. Now he's taking on Wall Street and a corrupt political system that holds up a rigged economy. Bernie's campaign is funded by over 1 million small contributions from people like you. He's fighting for living wages, equal pay, and tuition-free public colleges. Bernie Sanders.
People are sick and tired of establishment politics, and they want real change.
Bernie Sanders. Husband, father, grandfather, an honest leader, building a movement with you to give us a future to believe in.
I'm Bernie Sanders, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.
Check out strawmanmusic.com. Sean Duff is our webmaster here at the Opperman Report, and he's a very talented musician. He's part of a band called Strawman. They're based up there in Canada. Don't hold that against them. These are like-minded folks. If you like the shows you hear on the Opperman Report, you'll like the music that they have over at strawmanmusic.com.
Enough is enough. Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior drove this country into the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. And then, after getting a huge taxpayer bailout because they were too big to fail, it turns out that 3 out of the 4 largest banks are bigger today than they were before we bailed them out. That's crazy. I'm Bernie Sanders. My plan: break up the big banks who are strangling our economy and make them pay their fair share of taxes. Then we can invest in the middle class, expand Social Security, and provide universal college education. I'll rein in Wall Street behavior so they can't crash our economy again. Will they like me? No. Will they begin to play by the rules if I'm president? You better believe it. I'm Bernie Sanders, Democratic candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.
You know, you can get a copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator, if you go to my website, emailrevealer.com. Now, this is a limited edition book, okay? And you can get a signed copy of this book, and it'll be personally autographed to you or whoever you want to give the book to as a gift. Once you have my signature on that book, you can copy the signature and put it on checks and pass them all over the world. Emailrevealer.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Succeed as a Private Investigator.
He's fought injustice and inequality his whole life. Bernie Sanders. As a college student, he was arrested for challenging segregated housing. Bernie marched with Dr. King and thousands of others for civil rights. In Congress, Bernie stood up for working families on health care and jobs. Now he's taking on Wall Street banks and a corrupt political system that keeps in place a rigged economy. Bernie Sanders, a reformer who believes in ending racial profiling and mass incarceration so the justice system works for everyone. Bernie Sanders,
There is no president who will fight harder to end institutional racism and reform our broken criminal justice system.
Bernie Sanders, an honest leader building a movement with you to give us a future to believe in.
I'm Bernie Sanders, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Bernie 2016.